stage waiting for a certain man that really doesn't need an introduction. He's been the soundtrack to all of our summers for going into his 66th season. We're talking about the one and only, the Hall of Famer, Vin Scully.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you. I had a sinking feeling. I came in the gate, I saw so many cars, and I thought, my God, they're playing and I'm late. So it's a tribute to all of you, and we deeply appreciate the fact that you spend a little time with us. By the way, although I have been here since the place opened in April of 1962, I have never been down near the visiting bullpen. Our bullpen, yes, but never down here. And if you can look way up where it says Dodger Stadium, and then you can see the radio and TV booths, you can understand to get from there down here to get back to there, it would be the third inning. There's another reason why I don't come down here, and that's because of Tommy Lasorda's Italian restaurant. When Tommy was the manager of the Dodgers, and we would be on the road, and whether they won or lost, Tommy would be really excited after the game. And he always insisted that we would go to an Italian restaurant and have dinner at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. Finally, I told him one day, Tommy, I'm sorry, but I can't go anymore. And he said, why? And I said, I had this terrible nightmare. I was being chased by a giant clam screaming linguine. So even to get this close to his restaurant gives me a few chills. Nowadays, I'm smart. Before I go to bed, I have Mexican food. That way, I go to sleep dreaming of mariachi bands and dancing señoritas. Tell you an interesting thing about this bullpen. In the days when we did radio and not television, if you were up in that booth way up there, you would be looking down in the bullpen, especially at night, when there would be two pitchers warming up. We could see the pitcher on the outside towards the pavilion, but inside it was virtually impossible to figure out who the pitcher was warming up. Today it's easy because they have a television camera in there and they show you who the pitchers are. So the best thing would happen is when we played the Cincinnati Reds. And I'll tell you why. There was a fellow with the Reds, a relief pitcher named George Culver. And George would be sitting on a bench directly in front of the gate. And we'd be looking down, and George brought a transistor radio into the bullpen. And so we'd be doing a game, and I'd say, well, the Reds have two pitchers up. I know one of them is so-and-so. George, is that so-and-so? And George would take his cap off if we had the right name for the pitcher. So these fellas not only come out of here to relieve the pitcher, in the old days, they used to really bail us out in the radio booth. One other thing, and I've always thought about this, let's just imagine there's a kid with a visiting team from a very small town, wherever it might be, wherever. And he's in this bullpen, and he's called a warm-up and to come in a tough spot in the game. And then imagine that the game is sold out. So just turn a minute and look at the size of this ballpark. Picture 55,000 people, and you're 19 years old, and you're from Echahoquia in Navajoa. And here you come out of that bullpen with this place full of people. I really don't understand how they ever are able to function properly. At least with us, we're aware of the crowd up in the press box, but you don't hear the individual voices like we used to hear in Ebbets Field. Probably the most embarrassing moment I've ever suffered from a fan was from a lovely woman in Brooklyn by the name of Hilda Chester. And Hilda Chester used to have a cowbell. She would bring it to the ball game. Most of the time she sat in the bleachers, but occasionally she'd actually wander around the ballpark. And it was a quiet Saturday afternoon, and we were playing a last place team, so there weren't a lot of people in the ballpark. And it was my first year, and Red Barber was doing his usual great job, and I was just sitting there very prim and proper, writing down the plays. And all of a sudden I heard this deep, basso profundo voice of Hilda Chester, and she said, "Vin Scully, I love you." And the crowd laughed, and I kind of put my head down. I was very shy, and she said, "Look at me when I'm talking to you." So I promise, if you call to me, I will look at you at least. I'm also delighted to be looking at you, as this is the official beginning of the 2015 year. And believe me when I tell you that I am highly honored and deeply grateful to be here today. At my age, I'm deeply grateful to be anywhere. It's coming fast, isn't it? Before we know it, spring training followed by opening day. There was a book once written by a fine writer named Tom Boswell, and the headline of the book was, "Life Begins on Opening Day." And for many of us, I think that's a true statement. We survive our way through basketball, hoping the Lakers will survive. And we hoping for the Kings and for the Ducks, and we want them all to succeed. But if you're a true fan, and especially if you're a Dodger fan, deep down inside you're saying, please, get out of the way. Get off the stage. Here come the Dodgers. Anyway, I just want you to know how delighted I am to see so many smiling faces, see so much Dodger blue, although it's not necessary to be a Dodger fan, but it's worth your life coming here if you're not. We are thrilled to have you here today. Hope you enjoy yourself. You've heard enough of me for 66 years.